Guys, I asked Tiffany Smith, who is Piper Rockelle's mom, about the allegations that were made against her in the lawsuit that was filed against her and in Bad Influence, The Dark Side of Kidfluencing, the viral hit on Netflix, and this is what she told me. Okay, so I wrote this story for Rolling Stone in which I profiled Piper, and I actually went to their house and met Piper and Tiffany Smith. But Tiffany didn't want to do an interview, but she did respond to some questions in writing. So this is what she said. And I was really fascinated by some of the answers that she gave. So let's get into it. So she says, there's never been any kind of abuse, no physical abuse, no sexual abuse, no verbal abuse, nothing. So that's number one. That's what she has to say to the larger allegations. She says the allegation that she would say sexually explicit things to the kids, she said those were terrible exaggerations. And then there was this allegation that I found really troubling that basically Tiffany would allegedly use this alter ego identity of Lenny the dead cat, and when she was speaking as Lenny, she would say like sexually explicit things to the kids. So she would like ask them if they had had sex before or things like that. And Tiffany says that there was a Lenny voice, but that it was just done jokingly to the other parents, and that when the kids were around, all of the jokes were G-rated, but that this is just kind of like being taken out of context. Also, in the documentary, you guys saw that kiss with Reagan Beast, who was a 17-year-old content creator at the time, and Tiffany kisses him on the lips in a video. And so I asked her about that kiss because this is like the allegation that is kind of harder to refute because it was recorded. And she says, she insists it was a bad joke and the most overblown kiss in history. So there were also claims that Tiffany and her boyfriend Hunter Hill, who they are still together, that they sabotaged the other ex-squad members' YouTube channels after they left the squad. And when I asked Tiffany about that, she said, the truth is that the other kids did way better on social media when Piper was a part of their videos. But if they left or stopped making videos with Piper, their numbers dropped because Piper was no longer carrying them and they were no longer making content that worked. It wasn't engaging. That may be sad for those moms and kids to admit, but it wasn't bots or dirty tricks. Piper has always been the star and not because of bots. I was also really curious how involved Piper and her mom are together in content creation now. Like, do they do content creation together? Because this used to be such a big part of their lives. And Smith told me that she's not very involved in the content creation, but she does miss it. She misses doing that with Piper. So Tiffany actually suggested to Piper that her daughter just kind of like distance herself from her mom because then she could save her own reputation, but Piper was just not down with that. So I asked Tiffany why she did that and why she suggested that to her daughter. And she said, she's had so much taken away from her already. Piper is the real victim in this whole thing. I also asked her if she felt that Piper's content is sexualized, and she said that she's never sexualized Piper and she doesn't feel that Piper sexualizes herself. And if you're interested in what Piper thinks about people's backlash to her brand army content, that's in my other video, so you can go look at that. So Piper told me that her mom urged her to distance herself from her mother in order to save her own reputation. And when I asked Tiffany about that, she said, at the end of the day, I don't want Piper to be unfairly punished too. She's had so much taken away from her already, and while the lawsuit was going on, it was a big distraction for us personally and creatively, and Piper wasn't even a part of the lawsuit. And because the accusations were really a dispute between the moms, I thought that if I gave Piper the space to be her own creator and took a step back, it gave her the best chance of moving past this. Piper is the real victim of this whole thing, and she's the least involved. We're very, very close, so giving her distance on the creator stuff doesn't impact how close we'll be as a family. So everyone is asking me what I think about Piper and her mom once I met them, and something that really is sticking with me is just how protective Piper seems of her mom. Like, I think as kids, we are generally protective of our moms, but also because Piper was raised by a single mom, it's a little bit more intense maybe. So they are very, very close, and you can tell that in the way that they talk about each other. And if you're wondering if Tiffany has watched the documentary, she says she hasn't watched the documentary. She told me, I don't have any intention of watching it. The experience of being the center of it has just been too difficult. I already know that the claims are not true. So I can get more into this if you're interested. You should definitely go watch my video on my full Piper profile. I also have a video where Sophie Fergie tells me what she would say to Piper Rockelle if she could say anything. So go watch that. And if you're interested in this kind of content, make sure that you follow and subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that you see when the next video comes out, because I have something coming out on Sherry Frankie and the entire Frankie situation that I think you will find very interesting.